Imagine going into surgery, speaking your native language, fully aware of who you are, your family, your history. You fall asleep for what feels like moments, and when you open your eyes, the world you knew has completely vanished. You look around at the people leaning over your bed, and you don't recognize a single one of them. Worse, when you try to speak, the words that come out aren't even in your language. Your own voice sounds foreign. The sentences don't feel like they belong to you. And suddenly, without warning, your sense of identity, memory, and language has shifted into someone else's life. This isn't a horror story. These are real, documented cases, strange neurological events observed by anesthesiologists and published in medical journals. And they are among the most bizarre phenomena ever recorded in medicine. One of the most shocking cases comes from a peer-reviewed medical report published in 2022. A 17-year-old boy from the Netherlands was scheduled for a routine orthopedic surgery. Something simple, nothing involving the brain, nothing remotely risky for cognition. He spoke Dutch as his native language, and like many European teens, he studied English in school but didn't use it socially. His entire life, his family interactions, his daily thoughts, everything was in Dutch. He goes under anesthesia. Everything is normal. Stable vitals, clean procedure. But when he wakes up, not only does he not speak Dutch, he can't understand it. His parents tried talking to him, calling his name, soothing him. He looks directly at them and says, in clear English, "I don't know you. Where am I?" The hospital staff documented his insistence multiple times that he was in the United States, somewhere in Utah. He had never visited the US. His family was shocked, devastated, and terrified. The nurses attempted to reorient him, but the more they spoke Dutch, the more frightened he became. He responded only in English. He showed clear disorientation to person and place. He recognized no one. He did not respond when called by his name in Dutch. For hours, he behaved as if his entire Dutch identity had been erased. While under anesthesia, some patients exhibit remarkable and unsettling behaviors. An anesthesiologist documented a patient whispering in perfect Spanish, although he never spoke Spanish when awake. Another patient under sedation repeatedly begged someone named Mother Anna to forgive him, even though no one in his life had that name. A woman under propofol calmly described a detailed childhood birthday party she had never attended. One patient spoke clearly in a dead language, while nurses recorded the words and verified the phrasing later. Others began giving commands, recounting events, or speaking in alternate personalities, all while their vital signs were stable and their brains appeared chemically sedated. These observations suggest that even under anesthesia, fragments of memory, language, and identity can surface in ways that defy current medical understanding. Doctors initially suspected emergence delirium, a temporary confusion that sometimes occurs after anesthesia. But emergence delirium usually fades within minutes, rarely lasting more than an hour. This boy remained trapped in this alternate linguistic identity for over 18 hours. During examination, he was calm, cooperative, and completely coherent, but still exclusively English-speaking, unable to form a single Dutch sentence, as if that entire part of his brain was offline. He answered medical questions fluidly in English with a Dutch accent, but with no access to the language he had spoken his entire life. Eventually, slowly, his Dutch began to return, piece by piece, like fragments of a memory drifting back into place. But for nearly an entire day, he lived inside what felt like an alternate version of himself. Another case, published in 2024, involves a 21-year-old woman who underwent something even simpler: wisdom tooth extraction under general anesthesia. No major surgery, no trauma. Yet, when she woke up, she refused to speak her native language at all. Instead, she fixated on a second language she hadn't used in years, speaking it fluently. When her family attempted to speak to her in her mother tongue, she responded in this secondary language only. The medical team documented that she was unable to return to her primary language for a period of time, as though her brain had rebooted in another linguistic mode entirely. She had no neurological deficits, no drug complications, no stroke. It simply didn't make sense. There are cases of patients waking from anesthesia, speaking with heavy foreign accents they have never used in their life. Australian accents, British accents, Irish accents, despite never having lived in those regions. Some patients have woken up believing they are much younger, believing they are living in a previous decade, or asking for people who died years ago. There are patients who have woken up asking for siblings they never had, or insisting the people in the room are strangers impersonating their real family. One anesthesiologist documented a patient who woke up under sedation and began speaking rapidly in what sounded like a foreign language. But upon review, it wasn't a real language at all. It was a stream of phonetic patterns, almost rhythmic, as if the brain was firing through stored linguistic templates with no meaning attached. Another documented a patient who woke up sobbing, begging nurses not to send her back, though no one knew what she meant by back. She had no memory of saying any of it once fully awake. Neurologists explain that memory, identity, language, and consciousness are all controlled by interconnected networks of the brain. Under anesthesia, these networks don't shut down evenly, they power down and reboot in fragments. Sometimes, the language center returns online before the autobiographical memory center. Sometimes, emotional processing wakes up before logical reasoning. Sometimes, second languages, especially ones learned later in life, have completely different neural pathways than native languages. This means they can flick on while the native language remains dormant. The strange part, even with scientific explanations, these cases still defy what most people expect from anesthesia. Because nothing about a knee surgery or dental procedure should be wiping out identity, childhood language, or recognition of family. Yet it happens, documented, real, and unexplained. And this is where the spiritual community often steps in. Not as a replacement for science, but as an additional layer of interpretation. Because when someone wakes up speaking a different language, or behaving like a different version of themselves, or believing they are living a life they never lived, spiritual thinkers point out the similarities to concepts like past lives, walk-ins, soul fragments, or ancestral memory. After all, if the mind can switch identities under anesthesia, if a native Dutch speaker can wake up believing he is in Utah, if a white man can wake up speaking with a fluent Spanish accent he never had, then the boundary between memory and identity suddenly feels very thin, very fragile, very mysterious. Researchers aren't saying these events are spiritual, but they are saying they aren't fully understood. And when something is scientific and mysterious, people naturally fill the gaps with deeper meaning. Maybe these bizarre anesthesia cases show how delicate the sense of self really is. Or maybe they reveal something about consciousness we don't fully grasp yet, something bigger than memory, bigger than brain chemistry, something that touches identity on a deeper level. Whatever the explanation is, these cases prove one thing. Identity is not as fixed as we think. Language is not as stable as we assume. And under the right conditions, like anesthesia, your entire sense of who you are can shift into someone else's life, someone else's mind, someone else's voice. Even if only for a day. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to the Hidden Law Hub, like this video, and comment below with the topics you want to see next. Before we end, a quick note. This video is based on publicly available, peer-reviewed medical case reports. All patient information was anonymized by the original authors. Nothing in this video is medical advice or a diagnosis, and any spiritual interpretations are cultural perspectives, not factual claims. These cases are rare medical anomalies, presented for educational and documentary purposes only. If you wake up from anesthesia speaking a different language, or feeling like a different version of yourself, the truth is, you're not alone. The mind has mysteries we still haven't unlocked.